You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. So let's go into Parliament and check what exactly is going on and why Ghanaians are so angry and don't want a dime to be spent any further on the chamber. And those Ghanaians include MPs like one seated here in the studio right now. So just let's listen to this briefly and return to look at the matter of the parliamentary new chamber.
We are hoping that the project will sometime this year start on site. As the Speaker said, the government is committed to it in the budgets, and if we are able to start this year, it can be completed within the next 3 years. At the moment, the way the master plan works is that you have the sort of buildings of the Third Republic, the two pavilions. One is the Parliament, one is the banqueting hall. And what we're now doing is removing the parliamentary chamber to this new chamber and refurbishing the old Parliament to be another conference facility for Parliament. With that, we're also putting all the car parks that you see that are on surface parking under the Parliament for security, so parliamentarians can drive into a secure zone and rise up directly into the chamber, but also to allow diplomatic visits that are coming to also be able to have their own secure port come in, the president to also be able to come in, and for all the support facilities, press galleries, libraries, museum to talk about the history of our parliament, our unique democracy, as well as support facilities are all going to be housed in this main block.
We had a tender process by which we had 3 architectural firms competing for this job. 2 from Ghana, 1 from abroad, and overwhelmingly, not only us, the Institute of Engineers were asked to make an analysis and bring a report which was one-sided, overwhelmingly in favor of those that have now been chosen. So we are making progress and has committed itself to some funding. It reflected in the budget. And we are also looking for external sources to complement that project. Within the parameters of Parliament, there will be a canteen. There will be every possible thing you can imagine, from a hotel to eating places.
I agree that the circumstances of this country, we need to do serious introspection. We must all appreciate the fact that, in spite of the fact that lately we are coming up by all indicators, we are still not out of the woods. We must recognize that. And that is why the sensibilities of our people should inform decisions that we take, right? But what you are showing me, they were not in existence when we were building the stadia.
They were.
They were not in existence when we were building the International Conference Center.
They were.
They were not in existence when we were building the National Theatre.
But you know what that says?
No, I'm asking.
They were. But you know what that says? It means these are timeless problems that must be prioritized.
Absolutely.
And that's where the argument comes. Why are we prioritizing a building when these problems, as you've rightly pointed out, have been with us since independence or before that, and we haven't fixed them? And yet make our MPs comfortable? It's a simple argument people are making.
It's not about comfort. Security is not comfort. Security is not comfort. But as I'm saying, I know what the board is talking to, and I'm trying to put it out there because it does appear that people don't understand the reason why this is being done.
The honourable member sitting right to my left also did reiterate the point. Mr. Speaker, it's about this matter that the majority leader and the leader of the House has been impressed upon to bring to the House quickly for some sort of discussion to take place. And it's the question of the building of a new chamber of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, number one, some of us don't even know if it is a stated policy that a Parliament is going to be built. And indeed, who is taking the initiative? Is it Parliament really? Parliament chamber or building, Mr. Speaker, is not for members of Parliament. It is one of the significant symbols, or maybe the building blocks of democracy. You won't have democracy without Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the President will take me on this. Parliament won't sit under trees. So, Mr. Speaker, this whole matter, I think, should be brought to the fore. Let it be debated, and then ultimately a decision one way or the other be made. Because
we don't need that chamber. Drop that chamber.
Now, other members, let's continue. That confirms exactly the challenges with the Advocate Chairman, please complete your...
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
That chamber.
It doesn't make sense, and majority of Ghanaians think it doesn't make sense for us to abandon this parliament complex as it exists now, as something that is not fit for Ghana, and we are mobilizing money to go and put up another structure when we have challenges with accommodation facilities for senior high school, classroom accommodation and residential accommodation for senior high school because of the introduction of the free SHS, which we need to address. There is serious congestion in our second cycle schools. 1/4 of this amount can address that congestion. Why should we go and spend the money on this? Besides that, we are the first batch of the free SHS students will be graduating. They will all have to enter tertiary institutions. Can't this money be applied in expanding facilities in the tertiary institutions to accommodate them? Between that one and spending the money on building parliamentary block, which will benefit the country more. Go and see the health facilities across the country. There are cases where common beds in certain hospitals are not adequate, and for which reason people are dying. Why? Don't we have priorities as a nation?
Already, we are picking information that the minority leader, of course, who represents the party in parliament, is already endorsing this project.
I'm not sure about
and
that.
have given his blessings to
maybe if
project.
he has endorsed it before the trail line wait, then he can be excused. But even if he has endorsed it, he will revise his position in view of the trail line wait.
When was this issue, sir?
Yesterday.
Just.
There clearly is some overwhelming public outreach about this. And on social media, there is a movement. There's a lady by the name Rashida who is leading the hashtag Drop That Chamber. And yesterday, 2-3 gentlemen went to Parliament, had access into the House. And when they began to say one word or the thing about it, they started to, express themselves loudly. And they were arrested, taken to the Ministry's police station this week. That place has been busy. Mm-hmm. All right, so they have since been charged with offensive conduct and granted bail. Yes, you are in Parliament. What's going on? And there are those who are accusing you of us in double standards, because this didn't start today, really. And initially, the government too attempted to suggest that cabinet had not been consulted on this matter, and that also seemed to have backfired big time. Yep.
Something, I'm sure you know my views on this matter. Yesterday I had the opportunity in Parliament to go on the record to register my opposition to the project, and I did request that the Honorable Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs should brief us, because as we speak, as a member of Parliament, I don't know anything about this project, the background, the rationale, what mischief we are trying to cure, the cost, whether there has been procurement processes followed and all of that. Everything about this project is emanating from the media. We are hearing it from the media. And members of parliament are not happy about how we have been treated, because we have become...
The majority leaders apologize for that.
We've become the object of attack out there, suffering opprobrium. Our primaries are around the corner. Already the University of Ghana research said majority will not fare well. And then this whole matter has come to. But even beyond, personal survival, which is just on a lighter note, the more substantive issue is that we ought to really look at our processes, follow due process, and respect the laws, especially as we are lawmakers. If you read the 19th June letter, which is now in the public domain, the letter inviting the president to a sword cutting the last week of June, there are all kinds of processes here that ought to have been concluded even before you carry out a sword cutting. And before you come to this point, it will mean that you have the approval of the executive, because Parliament as an institution, we don't raise money. We don't raise money. And the Constitution is very clear. That is why even when it comes to private members' bills, we don't have a history of that. We've not even had one, because the Constitution, Article 108, if my memory serves me right, bars Parliament from proceeding to do anything that would be a charge on the executive. Article 108, Parliament shall not, unless the bill is introduced or the motion is introduced by or on behalf of the President, A, proceed upon a bill including an amendment to a bill that, in the opinion of the person presiding, makes provision for any of the following. 1, the imposition of taxation or the alteration of taxation otherwise done by reduction, or the imposition of a charge on the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana, or the alteration of any such charge otherwise done by reduction. Then Article 179 is also clear that Parliament cannot. And so we have been wondering, I mean, who are those who discuss this, and how come the Right Honourable Speaker is saying that there is goodwill, to use his words, that there is goodwill. The President approves, those are his words, and that he will be cutting the sword personally. And if you look at the June 19th letter, the first paragraph, it says, I respectfully refer to the above and inform that the Parliamentary Service plans to undertake a sword cutting ceremony regarding the construction of a new ultra-modern chamber complex within Parliament House. This is further to our briefings regarding same. So once again, the information minister's earlier, position that the executive had no idea, absolutely no knowledge, and that this is a matter in the purview of the legislature. Clearly, the Speaker's letter does not, support or sustain that position. But something, there is the body called the Parliamentary Service Board. And from the Speaker's letter, it's clear that the Parliamentary Service Board has discussed this matter. Now, the board is a 7-member board. You have the majority leader, minority leader in there. It's chaired by the Speaker. You have a former member of Parliament. That really is not in the law, but it's become a convention since, and it's Speaker D.F. Annan who introduced that convention when he went for the Honorable Hyde, who was chairman of the Finance Committee under Liman. So since then, the Right Honorable Peter Lajete also continued, and Bamford-Addo. So that has become the current former MP on the Parliamentary Service Board is the Honorable Hakman Owusu-Agyemang. So that tradition has been going on. And then a female member of Parliament, also serves on this. So it's a 7-member board with the clerk. Now,
But it's backed by law, you mean the board?
The board, oh yes, the board, yes. I'm just talking about the
membership.
The composition, yes. So it does appear that it's been discussed, but yesterday on the floor of the House, when I raised the matter, the Honourable Minority Leader set the record straight that even at the level of the Parliamentary Service Board, the discussions were not conclusive, that he had raised issues about the cost, he had raised issues about value for money, about why they were not following the procurement processes and all of that. And those matters had not been resolved. So he was surprised. He says he was invited to a meeting by the Speaker to consider designs. They did not know. Then the Majority Leader also confirmed that they did not know that this was a press event. It was not a Parliamentary Service Board meeting, stricto sensu, and that it was rather a larger media event.
It was an announcement
where the design, yes,
that we are ready for takeoff.
So now we are asking. You know, on the entity tender committee, the members of Parliament are represented. Our rep on the committee is the Honourable Akufo-Addo because of his professional background as an architect. Akufo-Addo says that since they were inaugurated last year, they have not met. They have not looked at this matter. So we are asking, even with the design, how did we procure Sir David Ajay to carry out the design? Is he working gratis? Is he for free? Or, I mean, so the whole thing is shrouded in a lot of secrecy.
The fact
and it's worrying
the fact that Parliament had already set aside 72 million from its budget for the project, he didn't know all of this.
That 72 million, I have checked, it's not for this project. Yes, if you the descriptions, I've gone through the reports in Parliament during the appropriation and all of that. It's not for a new chamber. We are doing, you know, the Job 600, when it was commissioned, it's for the capacity is 252 offices, but members of Parliament are 275. So there's an expansion currently going on to cater for the additional 23. So because of that, when it was commissioned in 2012, those of us who were deputy ministers and members of Parliament were asked to sacrifice. So I didn't have an office in the 6th Parliament.
Those are very beautiful offices.
Yes, yes. It's so I only got to use one now. So that 72 million, if you look at the appropriation bill and the explanation, it is not for a new project. Else we would have known as members of Parliament when we were going through the approval processes. So it is not clear if the 17th July, you know, the media review will take place on it will be read by the Finance Minister on the 17th of July. It's not clear if that is the allocation that the Speaker is speaking to, because you remember that in the 3rd paragraph of this letter, the Speaker writes that the Minister for Finance has dutifully given budgetary allocation. Unfortunately for us, the letter does not state which year, you know, which budget, or is it happening already, or it's a promise of an allocation, probably with the media review or for the 2020 budget. You know, so that's why we need to be briefed, especially when, if you read a lot of the statements out there.
But when the Majority Leader was explaining and apologizing to you for the communication gap, he spoke about the attempts to get the Chinese when they came over and to get them to assist to give them money, and spoke about the fact
the Indians as well.
All of this is in the incubation, you know, stage. But when you listen to the designer, we are not in incubation stage.
Yes, exactly.
And when you hear the speaker also write,
yes,
they're actually inviting the president to cut the sword.
To cut the sword, so, you know, so there's a certain haste, and it's
even the insert you play, the way he was speaking, they had gone through some processes. Tender and all that. So which presupposes that there's been some formal activity.
And you know something.
Why are you against it? Why are you against it?
I'll come to that in a In preparing for this program, I also called former board members of the SY Parliamentary Service Board to check if this matter had been discussed, especially in the light of the President Mahama State of the Nation address video that has gone viral. That was a 2013 State of the Nation address. And President Mahama talks about feasibility. And what's a feasibility studies? Feasibility studies, you have only one outcome. Yes, do it. No, don't do it. That's a feasibility.
Do you have a copy of the report?
I'm told it was not done. That there was the feasibility. That's what I've been informed, and I'm told by the former members of the Parliamentary Service Board that this matter was not discussed. It was not discussed, and not in the Bamford-Addo era, not in the Right Honourable Doa Jaho era. You know, and you can check. Most of them are alive. You can call them. You know, I have done that. Now I am opposed to this because, look, it's not been long that the chamber was refurbished at huge cost, about 16 million cedis, increased to 275 seating capacity. I have also said that we need a cap as a country on the number of MPs. It's not just about quantity. We should be looking at quality, and we should be cutting down the bureaucracy. There's so much wastage.
So you think really that, you know, as it were, expanding it to be able to contain 450 is to tell you that we intend to increase the number to 240, 450.
Exactly. And those of us who have been campaigning for a cap against this, you know, continuous ballooning and expansion, large bureaucracy, it doesn't help. We don't need that. Then Job 600 was commissioned not too long ago, 2012. Expansion works are going on to cater for all members of parliament. So I said that, look, if we have found some resources and we want to spend on parliament, there are even other areas that we can be looking at. Not with this project. And remember, not too long ago, the speaker had also hinted at a hotel for parliament. You know, some of us wondered why. You know, why do we want to do? So there's a certain agenda for prestige projects. You remember that was an accusation against.
Thank you, Kuku. We know that apart from the public outrage, you know, bodies very important in the governance, you know, of this country, the CDD, have issued statement that this is misplaced priority, and they give varied reasons for that. Occupy Ghana has also called on the government to abort this plan, describing it as inconsiderate, looking at what it says is the hardship that people are currently facing. The CDD statement on Thursday said it does not believe that construction of a new and expanded chamber at an estimated cost of 200 million is reasonable or justifiable at the present time in the face of the numerous basic needs facing communities across the country, including a lack of safe and decent fiscal structures, facilities and fixtures for many basic schools, a chronic shortage of beds in public hospitals, the deplorable condition of many of the country's roads, and sundry other basic infrastructural and material deprivations facing various populations of citizens. Construction of a new edifice for Parliament is a clear case of misplaced priorities. What do you say?
Allow me to make quick observations on what happened in Parliament with Ernesto
Yeboah, and
I've heard people justifying, defending, and rationalizing it, including even some members of Parliament. And I was surprised that members of Parliament will rationalize and justify that. That conduct flies in the face of the Parliament Act 1965, the Standing Orders of Parliament, and the Constitution of Ghana. See, we're not in the military government where our rights are curtailed, so we are enabled to use all means, sometimes even unorthodox means, to deal with situations. This is a democracy with all its limitations and challenges. We fought and brought into being the Public Order Act. People went to court. The Constitution guaranteed it, but we had to operationalize it. If you remember, it's the MPP versus IGP or something like that. to open up the space. In spite, even now, we still have difficulties sometimes with the way the police conduct themselves.
And recently, the Let My Vote Count also went to court and got a further pronouncement on it, where the police was always going blindside and stopping them.
That we are widening the democratic space through agitation, advocacy, and some level of crusading. That's what we are doing. We do not have the luxury of an alternative. We should not encourage people to use unorthodox or illegal means. Go read the Parliament Act.
There are many people who support them despite the rules that they have breached. Say it's a harbinger. It's supposed to tell you the so-called, spring.
I heard a member of Parliament.
That we may have to expect.
I heard a member of Parliament say so yesterday on air, and I was shocked. It made me recollect Amatekwe and his gang. They invaded Parliament with the same sentiments. They invaded Parliament, drove all the parliamentarians away, and drank the tea that was available. And he came public to say that the tea was like cocoa. Very thick. And we were enjoying it. People were celebrating him.
Oh, then the quality the quality of tea has dropped. I can confirm that.
People were celebrating him. Same with the judiciary. Exactly. Have you forgotten? They invaded the place, drove it and locked it, that they had dissolved the Ghanaian judiciary. Some of those things resulted in the murder of the judges. Take it from me. We've got to be very careful. People are shouting. Look, some of us have gone through it. This recently, people were mourning executive generals. We should be very careful.
But people say generally there is this, disappointment of the people.
That is why we have
in their representatives.
Listen,
that they represent themselves and they don't
vote
represent
them out. You have been given the option. You vote them out. You demonstrate against them. You send petitions to Parliament. Parliament takes petitions. That public gallery, there are rules. Strangers, we are all strangers, apart from the president, the vice president, and I think one or two, the speaker. In the act here, they have interpretation. Say they've told who is a stranger and who is not a stranger. No, ministers are even strangers.
So they clearly could have held them for contempt of Parliament.
It's here, contempt, and you can be jailed, or you can be banned from entering Parliament for about 10 months.
Some MPs, both in the minority and the majority, say they should let the two guys go, Ernesto and Adams.
No, I wouldn't go for them to be tried and thing. I wouldn't do that. But I'm just telling people that this is the law because of what I heard. People thinking that, 1,000 of us will go to Parliament and you can handcuff all of us. We shouldn't encourage that. Otherwise, let's amend all these laws. Amend the Parliament Act 65, amend the standing orders, and amend the Constitution. And tell people that we can go to the Parliament House as if it's a stadium and take part in the debate. Let's stop it before it's too late.
Okay, to the substantive issue. And when they were brought to the police station, somehow, coincidentally, I was around the place. So they had called on me and I gave them some assistance. But I agree with Kweku to a large extent that we ought to be measured in the manner that we do things. We have a democracy and it is the rules, so we should play according to the rules.
Yes, otherwise amend the rules or throw the rules into the dustbin.
Let's go, Kweku. So to the substantive matter,
I'm a student of parliamentary history. But I love Parliament. It's the best arm of the government machinery for me.
His father was.
And we've had challenges with our parliamentary history because of the fact that coup d'etats come and they are wiped off the landscape, leaving the executive and the judiciary intact. Even not that they are not challenged, but the Parliament vanishes of the political landscape, and that has led to a lot of problems. As we speak, we really, historically, in this Fourth Republic, haven't had what we can call a Parliament House in the true sense of the word. The last one, the old Parliament House itself, was actually a town hall. If you remember, it was known as George something Memorial Hall, one of the colonial governance. Transit into Fourth Republic, initially we had to use the conference center. Yeah. And then after modification, it moved to the conference center, the Accra International Conference Center, I meant. But after we had modified the Kwame Nkrumah Conference Center, they moved in there. The tower, that's the Job 600, has been undergoing all sorts of renovations and rehabilitation in order to provide offices and things. So strictly speaking, now we have Jubilee House, which is the presidency. We don't have a parliamentary edifice in the true sense of the word. But we've used some state monies to do all sorts of modifications and renovations. In principle, I'm not against building a new parliamentary chamber. In principle, I'm not. I've observed the public outcry and uproar and the way it's going. And I keep on saying this point, and I'm happy a member of parliament is sitting here. When these issues come and they are thrown out there into the streets, I'm not talking CDD, Occupy Ghana, they do very measured, serious arguments. Yeah. But when it's thrown out there, no politician, no politician or administration wins that battle. Yes. The masses win. Yeah. Because people play on the keyboards of people's emotions. It becomes an emotive matter, and nobody is ready to listen.
But as it stands now, the majority leader says they will take into account the views. Meanwhile, they have already started. And my question really is, do they have an option in this?
I'm coming. See, I'll give you one classic example. When Nkrumah was setting up, building the Job 600, there was agitation in this country. There were people who were opposed to it. Prestige project. And I'll read, yes, but I'll read something here. This is June 1st, 1966. It's scaled from Ghana, 1966, the 67 edition. It was compilation of news items by the Ministry of Information. Chairman of EFA Housing Commission announces in Kumasi that the Nkrumah government spent $6.6 million pounds to provide houses for workers within 10 years, while the ex-president spent as much as £8 million to construct Job 600 within 10 months to house heads of states of Africa for 10 days. This was supposed to be an indictment of Nkrumah. Job 600, but the fact that we lacked maintenance culture, served useful purposes over a period of 20, 30 years. Those who were taking him on were short-sighted and did propaganda. I can cite other examples. My understanding of this new parliamentary chamber complex is that we are not talking of the debating chamber alone. A lot of people are focused on the debating chamber, which we have reconfigured and done so many things to move from 200 seated to 230 and then to 275. What I have found out is that it is a complex that will come with other facilities. Offices for the table clerk, for the verbatim reporters who, you know, they move from the Job 600 to they commute off and on because there is not enough space. The press gallery, the public gallery, all those things. Indeed, an archive for parliamentary records.
There'll be a church, there'll be a museum. Diplomatic offices.
And it is a project that will be completed, in fact, if it starts over about 5-6 year period.
For now, he was talking about 3.
You need, I think, communication. You see, communication has been a serious problem for how this matter was put into the public domain.
But the question people are asking is, you talk about Job 600, now we have it, and the MPs use it, and they are doing a bit of extension to it. We have the main chamber they've done works on it. So the question people are asking is, now we have this. Forget about the fact that it's not like Parliament House, but we know it is Parliament House, even though it's not.
I thought you understood what I meant.
I get that, yes. So the question is, why do you want to spend money again to do this? And guess what? There's this woman who called me and said, it's
the populist thing.
You
I
see?
understand, but it's populist.
So they are not thinking about...
It's the same thing I read. What I read about Nkrumah captures what you have just told me. Jubilee House, when it was being put up, the same thing happened. Don't forget. The same thing. The same argument happened, to the extent that people said they will not reside in there. They will turn it into a pottery something. Same things do happen. No? Look. Oh, you don't know. I can give you.
Are you sure?
Wow. See, this particular Parliament House is not even disability friendly. It's not. We passed the Act 10 or so years ago. The complex is envisaged that the new complex will have all those facilities.
We passed the Act almost 13 years ago. We gave a moratorium to now of 10 years, and the moratorium is elapsed.
Division rooms. Division rooms. He's a member of Parliament. Division rooms insufficient, not even properly suited for the work to be done.
Okay.
My view, of course, because of the public uproar, I see, looking to the crystal ball, people putting this thing on hold. I see it. I can feel it.
Okay.
But I am saying that one way or the other, we must start with this project.
Okay.
But let me finish.
I disagree.
Let me finish. See, I'm surprised Sami says he consulted some past members of
the Parliamentary Service Board.
Wow.
Yes.
I will not ask you to mention names, but would you be surprised if you see minutes of the Public Service Board, Parliamentary Service Board, from Justice Annan to Michael Quay, that these are captured in? Would you be surprised?
Very surprised. I'll be very surprised.
Even go for the Hansard, you will get some hints. Alajiti, 2001, 15 January, 2002 rather. It's here in the Hansard.
That the Parliamentary Service Board has discussed.
No. That telling the Parliament that this is the mission. But I'm talking of the Parliamentary Service Board minutes. You know, I keep records. I have Parliamentary Service Board minutes here. I am surprised.
This is when?
Oh,
minutes of when?
This is 2007.
Okay.
I have them here.
And you've gone through and seen something?
No. Oh yes, in terms of parliamentary, during the other speakers, it's here. But I am saying that I'm surprised that any member of the Parliamentary Service Board will tell a member of Parliament.
All right, so let's hear.
Did not discuss.
Let's hear from
That's
Justice
so
Jansen and
they all did.
And
my
Martin,
last point, can I complete? Again, the President Mahama thing, which he tried to make it look like a lightweight matter. I'm surprised. This is the president addressing Parliament. And he says, in my first term, we will seek to strengthen Parliament by, I will skip all the other ones, commence a feasibility study for the construction of a new parliamentary chamber block on the premises of the State House. We would also explore appropriate housing for MPs in order to guarantee their safety and security.
Yeah, he says so. He says feasibility.
Feasibility.
Was it done? No. It wasn't done?
No.
So the president was telling Parliament that
that's why he didn't. This was 2013, 2014. He didn't say a word.
All right.
2015,
okay. Thank you.
2016.
Again, would you be surprised if you saw a feasibility report? Would you?
I would be.
Do you have 1 year?
No.
Okay. Because when you were saying minutes, I knew you had it.
See, I'm trying to hint people that they should be consistent. And they shouldn't think records.
But are you saying there's a feasibility report?
I haven't said that.
Okay.
I've said, so they didn't do any feasibility.
No, that's what my checks indicate.
No, okay. Now, Justice, sorry, the two of you, thank you very much. Monday, now, you and Martin, let's have your bites here. And when I read also that this will make room for swearing in of elected presidents instead of at the Black Star Square, and justices of the Supreme Court and all of those things. And it takes my mind back to some of the purposes for wanting to build a cathedral. You remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you say?
Okay, let me just say a quick one on Kweku's stage. You see, like Kweku said, if the president of the state at the time actually said this to parliamentarians and no feasibility study was done, then I think we are in serious trouble. Because this is a very important arm of government. The president, who is the #1 person, goes there to say this and say no action was taken.
Hey, you want to follow this?
No,
then you will have a lot of work to do.
No, I'm just trying to assess
the things our presidents say that they don't do. If you want to follow it.
What I'm saying is that then we have a lot more to do, because for us, the masses, maybe some of these things will take them as political.
The things they say,
but if you go into the house and you tell them these things,
or even a quarter of the things they say.
But anyway,
we will not be living in this kind of a
fast forward. You see, personally, I need to be very sincere. This is not the first time I'm hearing about this, in quotes, intention to get something for Parliament. It is something that at least the last, let's say about 10 to 15 years now, I have heard it at various times. And this will almost always come from people in high positions, either Parliament itself, the executive, you know, stuff like that. So clearly that intention is there. But I think that what Ghanaians generally are saying is that, yes, that block or that complex, if it is built, it's actually a representation of us. Because the people who are the first to be there on daily basis are representatives. So technically speaking, it is us who are there. We may visit the place.
People are comparing that to what you have in the UK and elsewhere and asking questions. You go to them to borrow and look at what they have. You borrow from them and you have such a luxurious place and it's still not sufficient for you.
No.
Go ahead.
To get access to Parliament, the security that you go through.
Yeah, you see,
is it comparable to here?
I think what the general public is saying is that over the last 5 to 10 years, we spent some resources on Parliament. We all remember the famous Chinese chairs and all the bits that happened. We've invested in them to the point where Job 600, which has been standing in quote in a very dilapidated state for a long period, is now a good place that is being utilized. We spend state resources. We've done some refurbishments on the chamber and what have you. So we think that short to medium term, if for nothing at all, at least Parliament should manage with that. Just like we are all being told to manage with other, shortfalls in the system. Channel some of the resources to do other things. But in the long term, we can plan properly and have this edifice in place. Technically speaking, once you put up such a structure, it is not going to be one that is going to generate income directly. But we can plan it such that a few additions here and there could even generate some money to also offset some of these things. But in the short term, just like the parliamentarians themselves, those who are representing us from both sides have said, the political parties themselves have also said, I think that it is a very straight matter. The leadership of Parliament, the Parliamentary Service Board, should understand that, yes, it is our representation, but at this point, we think that this should not happen now. It is important we get that edifice long term, but this short to medium term, please, we should put a stop to this.
People are calculating, estimating what such money, such amount of money can do.
Fact, let them calculate and also multiply their USBs.
Some have said that if they are willing to sacrifice their ESBs and it's enough to do that, they can go ahead. But for now, we employ them. We have given them a place to work. That is okay. We don't want them to dictate what place they want to do the work. Now, the majority leader said, if that is the construction of the new chamber has to be dropped, Parliament will make the final determination. If the people that we represent say shelve it, so it shall be. Do they have a choice?
Well, technically speaking, they don't, because he is saying that the people they represent. So basically, they are there to take decisions for us. And if we tell them
He's
that...
saying if, what do you know to be the people's voice now?
Well, from what we can picture, looking at what is happening around us, clearly the people say don't do it at this point.
Okay.
But you see, when it comes to the component of, let's say, financing, that ingredient, I read that, the majority leader is saying it will cost probably less than the $200 million that is being said. Samson, I will bet on anything that this Ghana that I have known, anytime we have done public projects, we start off with a certain figure. In the course of the project, there's going to be variation, and by the time we are done, double, triple, otherwise. So there's no way I will believe that by the time we are done, will be less than the 200. Okay. I can bet my last penny that will be more than that.
So like Occupy Ghana and CDD, this is not priority.
I don't think it is priority. It should be shelved. At this moment.
It should be shelved. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Martin. And the hashtag Drop the Chamber actually is putting together a demonstration, and they are going to be doing so. Should they be doing it quickly, and then we'll take a break and return to One Village, One Dam?
You know, the Constitution grants them the right to demonstrate once they want to. Yeah, it's fine. It tells you, you know, this country has always been like this.
Has the message not already been sent? Do they need a further demonstration?
Oh, just to make sure that they nip it in the bud properly. You know, Hong Kong, you know, the governor withdrew the bill, but the people continued. I understand now they are even killing themselves. Some of the protesters are taking their lives, you know. So we just want to make it very clear to the parliamentarians that, look, they should just put that idea away for now. I support what Dr. is saying. Maybe long term. For now, they should cope with this. Because as long as we have so many schools under threes, did you see the picture of the surgical ward?
Yes,
I lost a relation last week there. The first, I went there for the first time about 6 weeks ago. I was shocked. So dirty. Even the picture looks so dilapidated. I mean, I was like, what?
It's our foremost hospital,
yes.
Remember.
Surgery, Department of Surgery. Please, look, let's just shelve this thing for now. Let's not waste any more energy on it. I support the demonstrators. It's good because that way, you remember earlier on I read a quote from Martin, the philosopher.
Yes. Martin Nemola.
Yes, it's to help us. It's to help us because we need citizens to speak up. So that next time, I'm sure before people come out with such expensive and unnecessary projects, they will think twice. You see, that's the message to be sending to
and the claims that some of them are making, do you think they are using Odikro's statistics? Yeah. Odikro has been, you know, looking at Parliament, and they tell you how the chamber is actually never half full. The Speaker of Parliament, not this only Speaker, they have consistently complained. The members don't come. They are almost always they are looking for a quorum, and they can't find the quorum. And guess what the quorum is? So they are asking the question. The place is never full anyway. It's never half full. So why do you want more?
But the chamber, are we talking of chamber for 450 MPs?
I'm asking if that argument is valid.
Has anybody suggested that?
450 MPs somewhere back.
I'm not sure.
It's supposed to be the whole sitting gallery and all the capacity.
It's supposed to embrace all the MPs.
Okay, let Martin finish his point.
Sam, I don't intend to go down that route. You see, what it is that, you know, they tell you Parliament is master of its own procedures. The fact that you see the chamber is empty doesn't mean they are not working. That's a very complex area. It's a very slippery road. Let's not go down that road.
Fantastic point.
Yes, and it's not only in Ghana. In the US, they have their ways of going about their work. You see, so that one, I wouldn't support that idea. The main thing is that, look, at this point in time, we don't find the new building that useful. Let's continue to manage with what we have now. Just as some of our own fellow citizens are sitting under mango trees, okay, and learning. Okay. So they should also manage it for now. Schools under trees. No, but and the Department of Surgery.
Just clarification. Ministers who are not MPs are not strangers. They are allowed to debate except they won't vote.
Yes. Okay, we'll take a break here. We'll be right back.